Over my years of surveying the happenings on the internet, the one thing that has recently caught my eye is the idea of fanboys. And while I know this isn't a new topic or term, I couldn't help but think of how worse it's gotten over those years. Maybe the relevance of sites like YouTube and Twitter have opened portals to more broadly show their opinions, but I don't think that's the entire truth. Growth and a mass influx of people tend to make smaller communities bigger, which makes sense, but again, I don't think that's the entire truth either. As the internet has and continues to grow, the relevance of what were small communities with niche ideas became bigger, making their talking points worth more of perceived value. Why I say this is because fanboyism was a mere subsector of bigger communities. Fanboys back in the day were just overly invested fans that wanted to share their die-hard opinions on something they loved, whereas today, whole giant communities with the same ideas are formed on the basis of misleading and glorifying the misdoings of one or another company. Today, I want to discuss fanboyism and why I think its growth is a problem. I'm perfectly fine with liking one company more than another based on practices or games they've released, but using your love of something to either brush off or completely neglect valid criticism is how you harbour a cult. All three of the major console manufacturers, and Steam included, cultivate and harbour these type of ideas within their communities, making critique of these companies a difficult task unless you're a frontline fighter for one of these causes, and attacking people based on which platform they wish to use is something I wish stayed on the school playground. How anyone in the right mind can sit there and stand by a company as they continue to lie and rob you is an idea I have long but forgotten. As I said, I'm all for being a big fan or even overly invested in, say, a company or game series for instance, but fighting endlessly on why something is perfect when nothing is what I call a waste of time. Something to note on the idea of sticking by a company as they continue to lie is the fact that your commitment to their brand in turn helps grow their brand. And what I mean by this is the idea that these companies know that no matter what, in some people's eyes they can do no wrong, making the rise of, say, prices of their consoles an easier pill to swallow for the company. How people haven't noticed that their die-hard dedication to their console indirectly contributes to, say, Sony or Microsoft's marketing campaigns makes no sense, given that instead of paying people to do so, they can leverage their fan base no matter the quality of the product, because they know they'll have thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people pushing their product for the small price of nothing. Make of it what you will, but I don't like the idea of people pushing products they know are terrible to people just because they have an underlying bias for one or another company. Calling out and criticizing these companies when they do bad things is how you stay away from having no power to influence decisions that might end up hurting us, the consumers, in the long run. Furthermore, how anyone thinks fighting endlessly on any topic is productive will never not amaze me. Being completely real, debating whether or not your preferred console is better than another on the basis of the games and the review scores those games get is something I find idiotic. Why spend your free time clogging your mind with talking points a company wants you to have when tomorrow the company you defend with your life could make a decision that directly results in something you and the community love going away forever? To be frank, I'm tired of this company A does something bad so fanbase A has to defend them, or fanbase B attacks them and the company they associate with. Funny enough, I think this is a great point on why prices of, say, games and the microtransactions within said games always seem to get more egregious, but I've already said enough on that. Becoming overly invested in a game series is fine, like I already said, but becoming overly defensive of the developer that made that game series will lead you down a path unable to see the objective truth that all companies do or eventually do bad things. Another point to mention is how playing into the narrative of, say, Sony or Nintendo's fanbase could net you hundreds upon thousands if you meet the right requirements. In the modern era, people have created livelihoods on the back of being purposely misleading to play into their narratives, leading more and more people to become misguided. I'm all for and happy people can create jobs on the premise of their charisma, but using your influence to create a bunch of drones that attack talking points that don't align with your already perceived notion is, in my opinion, an abuse of your power. Talking about one company more than another is fine, and your fanbase knowing you have a bias towards that company is also fine, but not bringing up the bad that company does to form a narrative that they can do no wrong is purposely misleading. Maybe I'm extreme for having this position, but I think anyone that speaks about gaming should be held to a standard that includes critical thinking on topics and issues surrounding the gaming companies and the gaming industry as a whole. I can't help but wonder why these people choose to become puppets for companies. Like, I could never imagine being shown evidence on why my opinion is misinformed from objective fact and the day after go back to my old talking points. Maybe it's a thing of comfort and coming to the reality that a company you hold in high regard is doing bad things is something you don't want to realize, but not doing so is going to cause you more harm than the company making billions yearly on the backs of people like you. The reality of this situation is everyone, including myself, will eventually support someone or something doing terrible things to other people, and understanding that before you make a purchase is helpful to realizing that your money holds weight on whether a system changes or not. Again, I don't want to shame people into thinking they can't buy the new Call of Duty because Activision is a terrible company to their workforce and consumers, but picking your battles and becoming more aware of when a company is doing bad things so that when you support them it doesn't look like direct support of the horrible thing they just did should be the norm. Having been a part of the gaming community for a decade now, I've seen too many people be attacked for having a bog standard opinion that wouldn't be attacked if it didn't contradict the running narrative at the time. I, like many others, have differing opinions on topics and games, but saying them should start a conversation and not a hate mob whose intention is to forcefully change your mind. Like I said at the start, debating is worthless if all the debate consists of is contra vitriol towards the other person for having their opinion. Funny enough, the normal way to change someone's mind is to bring an argument to the table that is persuasive enough to change someone's mind, and not what is currently happening, where you'll be shamed, attacked, and forced into submitting to an opinion you don't hold for the sake of getting by without being attacked. Differing opinions, when genuine, are helpful to the broader scope of discourse, so don't be shamed into saying an opinion you don't hold to appease the greater narrative, because doing so continues to give these people power when they shouldn't have had it in the first place. In conclusion, communities controlled by fanboys purposely mislead people to form narratives that their side can do no wrong, while then also attacking people for holding slightly different opinions than themselves. Healthy conversations around the topics of misdoings are needed to make sure they can never happen again, but if you are blind to the fact that someone or something has not done it wrong, a conversation cannot happen. Living in reality and understanding that the world is not black or white and is more grey is key to the betterment of gaming discourse, that is, if people want it to be better anyway. Creating communities centered on screaming every success while then muting every failing is a very lucrative form of content creation, and the community creates are bad for everyone not named the creator and company. As I always say, if you could take one thing away from this video, it'd be the idea that opening your mind to differing opinions is extremely healthy, and not doing so will put you in a position to one day support someone or something that does and will do an extremely horrible thing to either you or someone else.